So that's what I'm saying. The text is like an object. It's gonna change perspective based on where you're standing. I don't know.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I missed you, baby sweet. It was a day.
It was a day.
Please tell me you're seeing this too.
From Seattle, we're Drinking the Movies. I'm Taylor Baker.
And I'm Michael Clausen.
These are very full cups.
They are. That's a good beer.
We're not doing first impressions today, because we're doing the best of 2018. And we chose one of the best beers still on tap at the Hellbent Brewing Company, which is the Hefeweizen. Nice 5% and very lemon droppy.
It's very lemony, just as good as before. I'm a big fan.
I am too. I do like the low alcohol content because I do have to drive later. So, and so do you. So,
and we have lots of movies to get through today.
We have to try to maintain our clarity.
Yes.
We got a lot of words to talk with our mouths.
Not just top tens, but a plethora of other categories. So, we're going to be here for a hot minute.
A hot minute, indeed. Why don't we just hop right into your top 10? Number 10.
Shall we?
Let's do number 10 for you.
My number 10 made the list in the last hour or so.
Mine too.
Really?
Yes.
My number 10.
Dwa serduszka, cztery oczy. Ojojoj. Co płakały we dnie w nocy. Ojojoj. Czarne oczka, co płaczecie, że się spotkać nie możecie. Że się spotkać nie możecie.
Cold War.
Ooh, I almost put Cold War at my number 10. Great choice. Love it.
Yes, it was really on the cusp for a long time. Thoroughbreds, it was in the top 10 spot.
Yeah, Thoroughbreds was your number 10, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and Cold War is not one that, I've rated others higher. I gave it a 4 at the time, but it's one that I think has just stuck with me like I didn't expect it to. We already talked about it on the podcast, but the combination of Joanna Kulig, I believe is her name, her performance, that black and white cinematography, and that smoky jazz is just too good to forget. It's one that, as much as I love Thoroughbreds, and we'll talk about Thoroughbreds in some other categories, I think I feel an even stronger desire to revisit Cold War.
One thing I'll say when I was looking at just my top 30, top 40, just trying to narrow stuff down, is other than Mission Impossible Fallout, Cold War is one of the films that wasn't yet in my top 10 where I was like, this is going to be beautiful in 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to age at all.
Yeah.
The way that it was shot, that digital composition.
Yeah.
And like you said, that smoky jazz feel to it.
Oh,
not just the atmosphere of the film that the characters inhabit, but the very way that the lens communicates the image beyond that lens is some sort of a smoky jazz feeling.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's hard not to remember just the viewing experience itself. Yes. We watched this, as we talked about on the podcast, at the Polish Film Festival.
I still don't know what happened at the end exactly. I don't know for sure. I'm torn by what you told me. I'm torn by what I experienced. And yeah, that film festival experience.
Yeah. It's one that I'm a little nervous about because it's still hasn't gotten any distribution in the U.S. yet. I think it comes out at the end of this month.
Well, it's an Amazon Prime release, I believe. Yeah. And I think that I've heard that they're going to attempt to distribute it as soon as it's formally announced as a final contender for the foreign Oscar.
Yeah. So just a kind of a latecomer, but I would highly encourage people to seek it out for all those reasons. I think it's great.
I completely agree. Love that movie, and I can't believe it's not in my top 10.
It's hard.
If it was last year, it might have been in my... It's pick a year, and it might be different.
You could ask me tomorrow, and it could be higher. Who knows?
I guess we'll get back to this with Roma, because that's going to be on both of our lists, or at least on my list.
Gotcha.
But I think that the foreign nominees for the Oscars this year are potentially much stronger than the domestic nominees.
100%
I just wanted
agree.
to float that out there.
I think that is very possible. I think we should just make them the Best Picture category.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, between The Guilty and Shoplifters and Burning and Roma and then this title, Cold War.
Yeah,
that's going to be the 5, right?
That category, Best Foreign Language Film, feels like this sidebar or something like that. I'm like, can this just be the main prize?
I feel like that's where the film nerds live.
Yeah,
Like,
I think so.
This is the real awards.
Yeah, and I think they can only nominate 5, but I mean, I think it could be bigger if they wanted it to be.
I just I didn't get to as many titles to know what those other ones would be.
Yeah,
I wish I did.
Yeah.
Well, I'm already behind on 2019 though.
I know. Got to move on.
I guess should we get to my number 10?
What do you got?
Really small indie film.
Accept that, Ethan. You've lost this one. What's done is done. What's done is done when we say it's done.
Showtime.
Oh my god.
Almost no one saw it. No one ever saw the trailer for it. That's for certain. Little tiny film directed by Christopher McQuarrie, starring Tom Cruise. It's called Mission Impossible Fallout. You ever hear of it?
This is new to me.
Yeah, brand new.
Tom Cruise. I don't know. That doesn't ring a bell.
Kind of a little guy, believes in some weird stuff, but really, really good at acting.
Handsome.
Very handsome. Very
handsome
daring. Very willing to put his body on the line.
Very fast.
Very fast.
Quite the runner. Quite the jumper.
The technical direction of this film and the ensemble of actors and the way it's paced is all just so unique. I don't remember the name of the cinematographer, but this is the first time the cinematographer has ever shot anything like this. And Christopher McQuarrie never told him what to do.
Oh, interesting.
And there's a really long podcast from the Empire podcast, which is a British podcast about film. It's like 5 hours long where they talk to Christopher McQuarrie about all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I won't delve into all of it, but once you hear that and then you revisit the film, it just kind of breaks your mind how well made this was, knowing what the production days looked like, how much money they really had, how much time they had, how they didn't think it was a good movie at many, many points in production.
Yeah.
And what it was like to attempt to shut down some of these roads.
Oh, yeah.
And trying to talk Tom out of getting on certain bikes and going 80 miles an hour down these streets in real life.
Like, Tom, we got to draw the line somewhere, man.
And him not listening.
Yeah. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I love this movie, and I think I'll revisit it and watch it with family for decades to come, not just years.
Yeah. Yeah, one I am most definitely glad I saw in IMAX. One of the few that like I really went out of my way to go see it in IMAX.
I did too.
That was my first time seeing a movie at the Pacific Science Center.
Yeah,
here in Seattle.
the Boeing IMAX screening center.
Great way to experience that theater for the first time. Yeah, you said ensemble. I think this will come back up on your ensembles, perhaps.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Things have moved around.
It got edged out. There's a small film from a director that you are a little bit familiar with. You read the book of his most recent film, and I couldn't look myself in the eyes and not put that above this.
I like it. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
How does this rank in your ranking of the Mission Impossible franchise? Is it number 1?
I think it's number 3.
Number 3? Which do you like better?
I mean, I'd have to look. I mean, now that I say that out loud, I think this is probably my favorite, but I think that I did put De Palma's above this.
I really like.
And I also
first.
am a very huge fan of John Woo.
Number two.
Number two, really big fan of what he brought. I'm just a big fan of Hong Kong cinema. I don't know as much about it as I'd like to, but I think that it's a category and stylism of film that is really overlooked and underappreciated, kind of like some of those horror B genres.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated it, not only growing up, so I have tons of nostalgia, but the more I learn about Hong Kong cinema and what he brought in certain stylings.
Yeah.
And just when you think about when that came out and how it worked at a global level to bring back globalism.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very special film to me.
Yeah. To me, that one does have sort of a unique authorial stamp in the franchise. I mean, the other ones kind of blend together for me in a good way. I mean, they all feel very cohesive. That does have its own sort of flavor.
It does.
I think it is kind of hated on. Not hated on, but disparaged a little bit
I'd say it's
unfairly.
maybe the last Jedi of the Mission Impossible franchise.
Yeah, I can see that.
But, you know, I like it, and I don't really like The Last Jedi. So, there you go.
There you go.
Should we get to our wounded soldiers? You want to go first?
We should. My wounded soldier. Do you have one, or do you have a couple? I just have one.
I only chose one.
Okay, I only have one as well. And that wounded soldier is White Boy Rick.
Oh!
Which I really enjoyed. This is one of those movies where I just felt like I saw...
What was the Metacritic rating on that?
59.
59, so it made it. Okay.
It did.
I think
it was
looked at it, and I looked at the gross first, so I was like, rule it out.
Oh, got it.
I didn't know if we were doing gross or meta, or if we were doing both.
I was looking specifically at Metacritic.
Yeah, no, I was too. I was trying to do both.
Got it.
Less than 200,000 domestic, and
That
less
would be
than
that's
60.
hard.
I found one. Didn't get a domestic release.
That would be very tough. Yeah, I just felt like I saw a different movie here. I do think there's a great article on IndieWire. I think Ian Thompson wrote it about what went wrong with White Boy Rick and the rollout strategy for it. And how they premiered it, I think, at TIFF, and it got bad reviews out of there, and how TIFF apparently is just a notoriously hard festival to overcome early bad reviews from. Certain festivals are just, kind of more generous than others.
Sundance particularly.
Yeah,
South
for
by
sure.
Southwest.
I think that this was perhaps sort of a marketing issue. I was certainly going into it expecting something a little more propulsive than what it is, something a little bit more...
Pulpy?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it is more dramatic, more of a family drama than what I think a trailer would lead you to believe. And that very much worked for me. I thought that this was...
Did you see it in theaters?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I did too. I wonder why we... Oh, I think that maybe it was staggered for us.
I think we just saw it apart, so it never ended up on the podcast.
Yeah, I think maybe I saw it right when it came out, and you saw it a little, like, kind of at the end of its theater run.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was definitely late in its run. But
it's really special.
I agree. I was really surprised as I was looking through the Metacritic reviews that would have heard its score at, like, ones that just stood out as particularly negative. So this one was from the Wall Street Journal, from a critic who I did not recognize. I didn't write down the name. But he starts with, "A lot of deals go down and go bad in White Boy Rick, but the one that really goes awry is the one with the audience. When a viewer endures a certain amount of unpleasantness, bad taste, and squalor, said viewer expects to be rewarded, a payoff, a reason. It doesn't always have to be a moral redemption, or justice prevailing, or something sparklingly cinematic. Just something that explains why one invested one's time." That really just is the opposite of what I experienced with this movie. Yeah, but this did seem to be a theme with some of the negative reviews it got, which was that people either thought it was just unpleasant to watch this family struggle in poverty.
I mean, these are probably the same people that didn't like 8 Mile.
Very possible. IndieWire called it poverty porn, where it was, to them, they felt it was saying, oh, look at these poor people. I just did not feel that way. I thought this was really empathetic. I felt like this was the portrait of a kid trying to help his dad keep their family together.
And it's a true story, you know. It's slightly biopic. It's slightly over dramatization, extra stylings. I mean, it has some slowdowns.
Yeah,
really, it does. It has some moments where you're like, you didn't pull this off the best. And then there's some of these weird moments in the hotel room when he's with the dude who gets Taken's girl, and you're like, how old is he right now, and what the fuck is happening, and how is he doing this? My personal favorite moment from this film is one of my favorite cinematic moments of the year. It's kind of the turn of everything in this film, and it's a slow swirl of a spin out when you're driving in the cold weather, and it really reminded me of the visual cinematic language of Baz Luhrmann. And just how this digital cinematography captures this black on white beauty as they're spinning out and going through this terror. And both these main characters are just screaming for their lives. And I felt like that one moment encapsulated the film completely and just so beautifully.
Yeah, it's father and son in a car spinning out, and that feels like what this family's kind of doing. His sister is played by Belle Powley, and she kind of succumbs to addiction. And there's a scene where she ends up in like a crack house, and I agree. I thought the cinematography was stunning when they go to retrieve her from that crack house. It's so dark, but I think it's beautifully shot. I forget whether it's Matthew McConaughey or the son who carries her out, but it's just like, it's just this image of, a family looking out for their own. Yeah,
and it's not overdone either.
Yeah.
Like that moment you're talking about, that's a super impactful moment. But you only spend maybe 10 minutes at the most with his sister.
Yeah.
Between the restaurant experiences, McConaughey chasing the boyfriends out, and then seeing her in bed, addicted. And it's kind of like that Ben Foster hem to the fences thing.
Yeah,
again,
absolutely.
And I think it's really, really well done. That's a great point.
And Bruce Dern as Matthew McConaughey's dad, who I thought was great. There's a scene, I think I mentioned this
Nebraska,
in my review.
Yeah, a little bit of Nebraska
I love
to
Nebraska. Great movie.
But like his performance is a little bit of that, right?
Oh yeah. Like he's maybe... is it unfair to say he's maybe bordering on being a little senile or something like that?
Oh, he's definitely playing like a senile old man.
Yeah, I hesitate just because it's been a while, so I can't recall any specifics, but I do remember feeling that.
I do too.
Yeah, there's a scene where he's just Bruce Dern is trying to make pancakes for the kid and his wife, and nobody will eat them, like they're too busy. And to me, it's like there's just plenty of little moments like that of just a family trying to do normal things, and they're just struggling with hardship. I thought it was very human. Got not what it deserved at the box office, but
it did not.
That's all right.
But at least it got a release. Unlike my title, Mary Magdalene.
That's right.
Mary Magdalene has a 47 on Metacritic, was not released to theaters domestically. However, it did gross over $11 million worldwide. So, small caveat there. It was directed by Garth Davis, who worked with Jane Campion on Top of the Lake, Elizabeth Moss limited series. It's very, very good. And then he also made Lion with Nicole Kidman, Rooney Mara, and Dev Patel. Is that right?
That's right. In the lead role.
This is the second to last score from Johan Johansson. Who was in this besides? Oh yeah, Chiwetel Ejiofor plays Peter, and there's these really small moments where they're just in the desert looking for water and alone. And I mean, Rooney Mara is Rooney Mara. You know, she always turns up in my list. Last year, her Una film was like number 9 for me. She's just really special as a performer. I love her in Side Effects from Soderbergh. Like, she's just great. And here she's just this vacant, open vessel that anybody of any gender can feel what it's like to be this character. And the film itself isn't really Christian, which is really interesting. And it's not even agnostic. It's more of an atheistic take on it, where you end up feeling Joaquin Phoenix's Jesus is kind of this like earnest Charlie Manson type of a character.
Wow.
Like a lunatic of joy.
That's interesting.
And Rooney's trying to be kind of, or Rooney's Mary is attempting to be an independent person who's following her heart and her desire in this traditional Jewish Orthodox structure. And in that surrounding, seaside village where there's men are in control of everything and she's constantly being demeaned. And then there's these touching moments with Chiwetel Ejiofor, who is an African American, but in this he's an African. I mean, it's hard to really take it, but he seems to be just an African straight up, playing the role of Peter. And there's these moments when they're looking for water in the desert that are just, they're shot in a way that reminds me of Werner Herzog's Salt and Fire. Just these beautiful shots of desolation and sadness that are somehow beautiful. And then that Johan Johansson score. And there's a lot of camera swirl, kind of like that White Boy Rick, just constantly swirling in chaos around Mary. And it's just a really special movie, and no one likes it. It makes I think there's one positive review on Metacritic, 27 mixed, and then like I don't know how many negative.
What's the overall on Metacritic roughly? Do you remember?
Yeah, I have the exact score. It's 47.
47. Yeah, that is lower. I didn't realize it was that low.
Yeah.
I thought it was mainly just the distribution kind of debacle.
Well, I mean,
it was also
audience
not well
scored so bad that they didn't release it domestically.
Yeah. I
think it's because it's atheistic, honestly.
Yeah, I think this was a Weinstein film, right?
I think you might be right.
Yeah. I don't know how many other. I think this might be one of those films that got just stuck in distribution limbo because some of those movies like nobody wants because they have the Weinstein stamp on them.
Yeah.
You got to think that there will be somebody who says these are still movies. I'll take them and distribute them.
Right.
I mean, I think it's still shocking that nobody would have bought this from them and given it a U.S. distribution. Fingers crossed that it happens eventually. I don't know. I don't think it can just sit there on the shelf forever.
No, because it's available for VOD here. It just went straight to VOD. Yeah.
Oh, got it.
I think it might even be coming to Prime or on Prime right now.
Got it. I thought it was just non-existent entirely.
No, it's existing. It's wounded. It is the wounded soldier.
It is limping. Yeah.
And I think it's very, very particularly good. Should we navigate over to your number 9?
Why don't you give us your number 9?
All right. It's a film you loved. It is the director's cut, unrated version of...
Are you allowed to speak along the way? I was thinking there might be rules.
Let me put it this way. Very few make it all the way without uttering a word. But do carry on merrily. Just don't believe you're going to tell me something I haven't heard before.
If you feel like screaming, I definitely think that you should. Nobody wants the help!
The House That Jack Built. One of your favorite films ever made.
Yeah.
Similar to Hail Caesar.
Great stuff.
I just love this fucking movie. It's got one of my favorite adapted screenplays that I've ever seen, taking Inferno story and twisting it into a self-examination of an artist's own egomaniacal sensibilities while doing something guttural and truthful to his vision. It's just my sort of catnip, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, if there was anything that I really, really did like about The House That Jack Built, it is Matt Dillon's performance.
Yes.
I thought he was funny and repulsive and just hit all those right notes. I think he did exactly what he needed to do. And he did carry the film largely for me.
He did. Did you respond well or poorly to Bruno Gantz's Virgil? Or Verge, rather?
Probably pretty neutral, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
The more that I look back on it, the more as far as narrators go, I really appreciate the way that he played that performance.
Yeah.
With kind of this neutral, like, echoey resonance throughout, and you're like, what's the point of this? And then you slowly begin to realize that this is a descent into hell for a man who's attempting to build his own house, and then you realize that the material of that, it's such a special auteur expression. I think that even the people that hate it, having a conversation with them about why they hate it is one of the more interesting conversations that is found in film this year. Kind of like Mother last year. Like, I don't care if you hate it. Tell me why you hate it. Let's talk about that, because that's more interesting than talking about insert whatever schlog here, The Predator or whatever, you know.
Yeah. I'm not terribly familiar with Bruno Ganz, but I think he's most famous for playing Hitler in something. God, what was that movie called? I'm forgetting what it was, but
not like
I think
Deadfall or whatever.
That's what I was thinking. Is that not right?
Deadfall, the zombie snow.
Oh, is that a zombie movie? Maybe that's not the one I'm
Deadfall is
thinking
a zombie movie, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Valkyrie is the only other Hitler movie I can think of.
Yeah. That's the only reason I had known his name beforehand, so I thought that was maybe an inspired bit of casting because of where the movie ultimately goes.
Might be.
But as a vocal performer, pretty strong. I would agree.
We don't need to spend too much time on it. If they want to know my real thoughts, they can go back to that episode.
It's on the podcast. My number 9, one that I almost didn't even see because I thought it was going to be very meh, was...
Listen, kid, things are changing.
What do you mean?
I'm selling him. He's not a pet. It's just a horse.
I'll buy him.
What? With what money? And where are you going to keep him? Not in my stalls.
Lean on Pete, which was directed by Andrew Hay, starring Charlie Plummer, Steve Buscemi, Chloe Sevigny? I never know how to pronounce her last name.
It's either Savini or Sevigny.
Yeah.
It's certainly her better performance out of the two that I saw this year.
What was the other one? Oh, Lizzie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I think she's a strong supporting character here. I think this was probably the most surprising movie of the year for me, one that I thought I had totally figured out in advance of a story about a kid and a pet. Mm-hmm. It just felt like particularly familiar territory, and it really knocked me out. I was really taken with Charlie Plummer's performance. I thought there was some beautiful cinematography of the Northwest, and this just goes places that I never expected. This is a spoiler alert. I think we're doing spoilers as usual. Or no?
I was thinking maybe we shouldn't this one episode.
Not this one? Okay.
There's a particular dramatic moment, if I recall what you're...
There are a couple, I think, pretty
or maybe I'm
uniquely dramatic for this. Well, that has some dramatic moments, too.
There's a particular one that I'm thinking of involving a fence.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll put it this way. I think this kind of movie usually has sentimentality that's very obvious and very much on the surface and that is spoon-fed to you in a way. Mm-hmm. And I felt the emotion in this one very much sneak up on me in a way that I did not expect it to. And I found it thematically concerned with things that I did not expect a movie about a kid and his pet to be, which is sometimes just about a kid loving a pet.
I haven't seen it in so long that I'm struggling to remember some of the details. But there's a moment where he ends up in the RV, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Steve's on.
There's some real shattering.
Yeah.
Shit to this flick.
Yeah,
It's a real good movie. It's definitely the best A Boy and His film that I've seen this year.
Yeah. I don't think I saw it. I think it was in April that I saw it, so specifics are hard, but
where
Lean
did
on
you see
Pete,
it? SIFF?
SIFF.
Yeah, I saw it at the Crest.
Yeah. Lean on Pete the horse has an injury of some kind. He has bad feet or broken feet or something like that. And Charlie Plummer's character, I think his name is Charlie in the movie as well, takes a liking to him, and the smile on Charlie Plummer's face, I think, is as memorable of an image for me as anything else this year. And because of what Charlie, the character, ultimately has to endure, I think there is something kind of special about this kinship and the affection he has for this horse. It is just the movie that I never would have expected to be praising today. So,
but here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah, it's a shattering movie. I look forward to revisiting it. It just didn't get above 20 for me. You know, I think it made it right above the Rogers documentary. For me, and I just never revisited it. If I had, it might have been pushed down. I can't see it making the top though. Yeah. But it's definitely like a great. It's just beautiful in that way that Cold War is beautiful. I think.
Yeah,
emotionally,
absolutely.
Like it's emotionally resonant, and maybe it won't age particularly well. It's hard to say, but I think that it certainly belongs to this day and age. Yeah, like it belongs to this time in a way that maybe we talk about some classic films like Titanic belonging to that time, or Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid belonging to that time. Serpico, Scarface, like this weirdly just is that. Yeah,
absolutely. It's no spoiler to say that he's the son of a single father. His mom passed away, and they're not terribly financially well off.
Wait, is Jason Momoa the dad in this?
Jason Momoa is the guy in Aquaman, right?
Yeah. Is he the dad in this?
I don't think so.
Okay.
The guy does look familiar, but I don't think it's Jason Momoa. That would be quite shocking if in retrospect it was Aquaman.
He does a lot of really small projects. Aquaman's by far the biggest project he's ever been given. I guess the dad isn't Jason Momoa, just looks very similar to me or something. Or maybe I was watching way too much Frontier at the time. Hard to say.
Yeah. But yeah, they're not terribly well off financially, and we'll just say that the situation for Charlie doesn't get better. It gets worse.
It devolves.
Yeah. And I think something about what this film illuminates about just how scary that is, to just feel like you're snowballing towards something more dangerous and more difficult than what you already had to deal with.
I think it's very similar to Leave No Traces, kind of descent until those very final moments that we get in Leave No Trace.
Definitely. I think that would be a very worthwhile double feature. I think those films talk to each other. And
they're very much based in the same vein of the Northwest and a certain type of empathy and descent into growth.
Yeah, totally. That's Lean on Pete.
You want to navigate to the Squanderies?
To the Squanderies. What do you got?
I have a actor and actress. Do you have an actor and actress as well?
I do.
All right. Well, then I will start with my actress. Vanessa Hudgens. I think she is a jack of all trades of the highest caliber. She is a fantastic performer, and she was in shit roles this year. Oof. Let me read you some of the films she was in. Second Act. Did you see it?
That's the J-Lo movie?
That's the J-Lo movie.
I did not see it.
The Princess Switch. Did you see it?
Don't know what that is.
Dog Days. Did you see it?
No.
Exactly. Me neither. They all scored very terribly. The Princess Switch, I imagine, is doing really good business for Netflix, though. It's one of those streaming titles for little girls. So I feel like it's kind of unfair for me to lump that in, because it is certainly a genre piece for a certain group of people, and I'm not that person.
Yeah.
But if you ask me who she's capable of being that Anna Kendrick type. And I would equate Anna Kendrick to the Julie Andrews type. Like, I think that if old-style, golden era Hollywood was working correctly today, Anna Kendrick would be one of the top 3 biggest stars, because she is capable of singing, she's capable of acting extremely well, and she's very mirthful. And I think Vanessa Hudgens has all of those things in spades.
I can see that. Interesting. Did you see any of those?
I did not.
Yeah. Would you even dare see them because she's in them?
No.
You refuse.
I will rewatch that little DC NBC show that she did with Ron Funches and Abed. I don't remember Abed's real name. From Community.
Yeah.
They canceled it. It had I think they made 13 episodes but only released 11. But it was a fun show. Like, I'd rather rewatch that where she's the star of it than get into that smorgasbord of shit.
Yeah. Well,
you want to do your actress?
We can hope that 2019 is better to Vanessa Hudgens.
I pray.
I was really struggling between two actresses. So I'm going to do an honorable mention. Is that acceptable? When I won't talk about it too long. Lucy Boynton.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, no, she was good.
She was fine. I just felt like she just did not get nearly enough stuff to do this year.
She was in Apostle.
Mm-hmm.
She was in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yes, and I felt...
Those are pretty big movies that I've heard of and watched.
Yes, I guess... So when I was looking at Squanderies, I was sometimes just looking for performers who I thought did not get material anywhere interesting enough
For
relative
what they're
to their
capable
skills.
of, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a... yeah, I could see that. I definitely do that with my actor, so...
Yeah. But she was the honorable mention. So I won't say too much about her.
Choice?
The choice itself is Zoe Dutch, who was in Flower.
Zoe Deutsch. Yeah.
Deutsch. Zoe Deutsch, who was in Flower and the Netflix comedy Set It Up, as well as...
Did, Assassination Nation?
Was she in that too?
I think she was. Did you look at all the titles that she was in?
Those were the two that I was looking at particularly. She was additionally in one called... I believe it's called The Year of Spectacular Men, which I have not very much interest in seeing.
Yeah, I mean, she only had 2 movies this year. Set It Up, which I actually really liked. I think
you did like
you
that one?
encouraged me to watch it.
Did I?
Or at least
I
think I saw you log it, and I was like, let me check that out. And I actually really did enjoy it as far as a Netflix streaming title goes. Because when I turn those on, I tend to, unless I have other expectations, I tend to expect to be as entertained as I would be if I had turned on an episode of The New Girl. And I was that entertained. I was that amount of entertained. So I responded favorably, a 2 or a 2.5, 3.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't overwhelmingly hate that movie, but I thought that in the 2 movies of hers that I did see, Flower and Set It Up, I just felt like I was seeing talent from her not being put to the best use as possible.
Do you want some good news?
What you got?
She's in a film with Johnny Depp where she is the number 2 billed actor, period, after Johnny Depp, from a director called Wayne Roberts. The film is called Richard Says Goodbye. It's an hour and 30 minutes. It's a comedy drama. It's not yet rated. It's shot in 2018, so it'll be out soon. She's in Zombieland 2, coming out next year. She's in a television series called The Politician, 10 episodes, coming out next year. And she's in Buffaloed, 2019.
Very busy.
So, your Squandery choice has lots of stuff.
She has an opportunity to show her stuff. Yeah, I mean, I think some of the comic timing that I really did like from her in Set It Up, but that just didn't really pay off because of what that movie did for me, I thought would have been very well placed in something like Game Night.
Yeah.
I think...
But who would you want to get rid of?
That is difficult. She would just be an addition. I think...
Ooh, I like that. Extended 5-hour edition of Game Night.
Yeah, exactly. I think the best from her is still yet to come. So, Zoe Deutsch.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. So my male actor choice for the Squanderies is a actor that you know, and when I say his name, you're not going to know who he is. One of those actors. John Ortiz.
Yeah, that does not ring a bell.
Okay. He was in this year's The Cloverfield Paradox, which I did see. Did you see it?
Nope, I did not.
Okay. Nostalgia.
Never heard of it.
I didn't see it either. I'm interested, though. I'm a little bit interested. I can't remember why, but I did add it to my watch list right when I checked this out. Peppermint. You know what that is.
Yeah.
We both didn't see it.
Yeah.
Jennifer Garner movie. And he is in a movie that I did enjoy with a very small role that wasn't very good called Bumblebee.
Ah, okay. I'm going to look him up and see if I would recognize him.
And John Ortiz came out of the same acting branch that Philip Seymour Hoffman did. They did Philip Seymour Hoffman's only film together, Jack Goes Boating, which is one of my favorite films, just kind of ever, that I like to bring up that people don't know about. Not really like the best ever, but like your favorite movie maybe that you haven't seen yet if you're a film nerd.
Yep.
And he is, I would equate him to Bill Camp. Yep. And that he's a perfect character actor. He can do whatever you want in whatever way you want. When we talk about Michael Bay movies, he is a Michael Bay type of actor. You give him a job, he shows up, he does his job, zero problems with how he delivers it to you. And I would equate that to maybe how Bill Camp is in Wildlife, or his smaller role in The Looming Tower. And I really want to see John Ortiz used more because he is one of the better dramatic actors working. I would also compare him to a Tracy Letts.
Yeah, as I look at his picture, he definitely looks familiar, and Silver Linings Playbook and American Gangster, those are probably the two I recognize him from. So yeah,
I think
one of
he
those
was
guys
in
that just...
The Drop with a little bit of a bigger role.
I see that too. That's one I did not catch. Did you see that one?
Yeah, it's a Tom Hardy movie. Of course I caught it.
He was good in that one?
Yeah, it's a
what you remember?
It's a good movie if you like that genre. And yeah, he's I can't name a movie he's really bad in. I can just name bad parts for him.
Yeah.
He's one of those actors.
Well, next year it looks like he's in the new James Gray sci-fi movie, Ad Astra. Yes. That's pretty sweet. I did wonder if we should talk about like most anticipated movies of 2019. Ad Astra is one of them. That's pretty awesome.
Yet, but let's do that when we reconvene.
Yes. And he's got a couple other projects. Not all these directors, most of these directors I don't recognize, but he's got stuff in the works. All right. This is an actor who I really liked in everything I saw him in. I am just desperate for a leading role. I just think to have gone a whole year to have done what he did in these small roles and not have gotten a leading part, it just kills me. I need something big from him. And it's Christopher Abbott.
Yeah, baby. Yes.
I love Christopher Abbott.
The thing is, James White is a film that exists.
I do love James White.
So I didn't think about it because he's already done some of the best work that's ever been done.
Yeah.
And also, he was in one of my absolute favorite films of the decade and of last year, It Comes at Night.
Oh, yes. He was great in that.
Very, very good.
Yeah. In Vox Lux, he plays an interviewer with Natalie Portman, and he's in First Man as a fellow astronaut. Yeah. Every time that guy pops up, I just want more from him. So to say, that his performances were wasted, I don't think that's really that's not at all. It's just that I was desperate for more from him this year.
I am too.
And
do you have
I
any
just
idea
hope
what
that
his
he has.
projects are?
I have not looked
by chance.
Yep.
Because I do question with someone so creative as him, if he wouldn't be interested in seeing himself behind the camera as well. But he is in a television series that came out last year. He was very, very good in opposite Jessica Biel called The Sinner.
Yeah, I remember
is,
that.
Kind of a one-off. Like it's an anthology series about kind of agony and pain and suffering. I haven't watched season 2, but I know that it's supposed to be completely different than season 1.
Yep.
As far as characters and stuff, so that's definitely something that they can look for.
I did not realize he was in that.
Yeah, he's really, really good. Like he is the sole reason that the film is grounded, or rather the television show.
Yeah.
Oh, he was in a film that I didn't get to see yet called Tyrell.
Oh yeah,
which has
heard
an
about
actor. Shoot, I don't remember his name, but he's from The Chi. Jason Mitchell from The Chi. I really love him, and it's got Caleb Landry Jones. So you got that Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene thing.
He's
going.
Great. Yeah, Tyrell was directed by Sebastian Silva, who I think did Nasty Baby.
Really?
Did you ever see that one?
I did not. I've heard about it.
That was a funny one.
So he's got one film, one television show, guaranteed for 2019, Catch-22 TV miniseries, then a film called Possessor, where it's a Brandon Cronenberg film. I don't know if that's any relation to David.
Yeah.
But it's lead is Andrea Riseborough and him. And then we've got 2 other productions going, Hilltown and Full Dress, where he plays 2 different characters by the looks of it.
Yeah. So he was great everywhere I saw him this year. I just didn't get anywhere near enough from him.
No, that's a great selection. That's one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
And I wish that I saw more from him.
Maybe next year.
Definitely next year. Let's do number 8.
My number 8 is...
I believe God gives each of us a purpose. To the horse that's trying to cross the prairie, For a cowboy, it's true.
The Rider, directed by Chloe Zhao.
I knew we'd get here.
Here we are. Starring Brady Jandreau, I believe, is the lead actor's name. Another one that's really stuck with me. Beautiful cinematography, couple scenes that I really have not been able to forget. Brady, I think his name is Brady in the movie because he's kind of playing himself, working with the horses after he's had his injury. He kind of starts the movie with his injury. Working with another kid who's disabled in the rehab center. When that kid's
well, it's all based
holding the
on
reins.
True story. Chloe met him before he suffered the injury, wanted to make a film with him, then he suffered the injury, then she developed the story about that injury happening. There's certainly something beautiful happening to the real people in this film that is special. I think we did talk about it on the show where I voiced my just general distaste for the subject matter of the film. I'm not like a PETA person or anything. I already ate 3 different kinds of meat today. But just watching what they do to these animals for entertainment for some reason really just continuously bothered me and undermined the beauty of the film.
Yeah, I certainly am not here to endorse any unfair treatment of animals, but I never felt the movie condoning it in any way. I felt like it was just a very matter-of-fact depiction of his way of life in this particular
I would
geographical
agree.
place.
It was just a personal thing where I was like, I couldn't not, like, maybe whatever you were feeling watching The House That Jack Built about the grossness of the egoism of Lars von Trier being depicted in that film is kind of the grossness that I was feeling at the choices of what these just real people do to these animals.
Yeah. And just a movie about what it feels like to kind of lose your sense of direction in your way of life. He identified as a person who rides horses for a living, and he has to figure out how to move forward without being able to do that. And that
it's touching. It's like heartbreaking in multiple parts.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it was the very first podcast we recorded. So if you want to hear more,
when we
gotta
were
go back.
ranting about what the first Purge, 3 Identical Strangers,
We covered a lot.
We did.
It was like a 10 movie episode.
At least.
How about you? Number 8.
Number 8, small film. I don't know if it made your list. Did not receive very much business.
Your dad's going to the moon.
Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin.
We have a go for main engine start. T-10.
The entire world's watching.
9. 8.
Do you question whether the program's worth the cost?
7.
In money and in lives? Do you think you're coming back?
It's called First Man, directed by Damien Chazelle, starring Claire Foy and a small actor, Ryan Gosling. But main focus here is Claire Foy. She'll be back, I promise.
I believe it.
I just really like this movie. It's we had just watched what was that one, The Right Stuff. We just watched The Right Stuff before going into this, and I was just set up to experience cinematography and film and an auteur's vision. And that's everything that I got, instead of doing the kind of miniature thing that Nolan had done so well, and that I had just seen, I think, a week before at that IMAX re-release of the 70mm version that Nolan had edited of 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like, everything was just ramping into the sci-fi vision, and it was just so human and so tragic and just so touching and beautiful. And I did revisit it it wasn't as amazing on that second revisit because I already knew everything that was coming. But it was still technically proficient in a way that just had my jaw agape.
Yeah.
I think it was Leon Bridges who has that small aside that we would liken maybe to a film that will be coming back with some of the black and white photography that we see from the street level in a certain James Baldwin title.
Yeah.
That really evokes, I think, James Baldwin's voice. And I think that if I was to say that one man could speak for all people, I would say that Leon Bridges' scene here is very much James Baldwin's voice. Just kind of screaming in the middle of First Man, and it's not disparaging, it's not condescending, it's not uplifting, it's just raw and real in a way that isn't judging. The way that Leon Bridges kind of delivers that famous line about Vietnam and trying to go to space at that time.
Yeah,
it's just such a special flick, and the ensemble is impressive to say the very least. And I love Chazelle. What can I say?
I personally just can't forgive that they didn't show him planting the flag on the moon. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not one of those people. Easily the worst take of the year. Probably like my least favorite take for any movie.
You can tell they're real nationalistic, those folks.
Yeah. I could make another list tomorrow and it would be in my top 10. This is one that was very painful to leave off. It'll come back in some of our other categories.
Yes, it will.
I think this is one of my favorite Ryan Gosling performances. Christopher Abbott strong. I almost could have seen Christopher Abbott play Ryan Gosling. I might have just been just as happy with him there, but Gosling was great.
Gosling was really good. I don't have anything against Gosling, but if you were to ask me to pick between Christopher Abbott and Ryan Gosling, I'd pick Christopher Abbott.
Yeah.
So you saying that makes me sad that I didn't get to see that film.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Was it Kyle Chandler played the main other guy in this film? And he was really, really, really good. Really good. And there's a small scene where Claire Foy is looking out the window. I think we actually talked about this exact spot on the podcast where we talked about it. But she looks out the window and sees the woman after her husband dies. I won't tell you who the husband is. In a test flight. And she goes out and consoles her and screams at the neighbors. And it just, what Claire can do is second to none for me as someone who likes performances.
I think she's probably a strong contender for Best Actress, or Best Supporting Actress, in the Oscar race. I think she's got a good shot.
She's up there with Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone based on my understanding of how that category looks.
Yeah. We'll get to some horror titles later in the podcast, but man, one of the most terrifying moments or thoughts was the start of First Man and him trying to re-enter the atmosphere and saying, I'm bouncing off. It's just something that's never crossed my mind. What a terrifying prospect.
And it was, that moment was so heightened for me from seeing The Right Stuff in that there's the word juxtaposition of the experience that he has trying to fly these planes this fast and ripping into that upper atmosphere in The Right Stuff, and then getting outside the atmosphere and bouncing off of it and trying to get back in. So special. That was such a good choice by you to do both those films together.
That was fun.
I'm starting to second guess my favorite classic discovery, but I can't change now.
Mid-podcast. Great pick.
All right, I guess we're going to get to Path Back to Excellence.
That's right. Would you like to go first, or should I go?
I think you should go first.
All right. I struggled with this one. There were a couple contenders. I almost went with Jeremy Saulnier, and then I just felt like I'm not that concerned. I think, despite not entirely loving Hold the Dark, I think that was more me than it was Jeremy Saulnier. I think I might come around on that film the more I've thought about it. So
I agree. I think we should do a revisit episode where we identify some films that either we didn't one of us didn't respond well to and the other really enjoyed, to do a revisit where we do 2 and 2 maybe.
Yeah. So yeah, he kind of crossed my mind. Didn't go there. The director I went with, and the film specifically in mind, is from Nicole Holofcener, who directed The Land of Steady Habits, the Netflix film. I've really liked a couple of her prior films. One was Walking and Talking with Catherine Keener.
She did Enough Said, correct?
She did,
okay.
and I loved Enough Said.
Everyone does. That's one of Josh Larson's top films of whatever year that came out.
Yeah. Private Life, we'll talk about later. I kind of thought The Land of Steady Habits would be kind of what Private Life ultimately was for me this year.
Wow. So you were expecting to get a top 10 film on the year from this director.
I was very hopeful. With the cast and with her behind the wheel and just the subject matter, I mean, I just like...
And Ben Mendelsohn?
Yeah,
I mean, you can't ask for a better performer, I think, in that type of a role.
Yeah. But it, I think I gave it a 3, probably with the heart, because I like what she's trying to do. But it did feel like kind of a misfire for me.
Do you think that was the performance, or do you think that was kind of the subject matter and how this addiction death thing began to play out?
I think I do like the performances, but I think it is more screenplay.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it maybe gets a little more dramatic than she's kind of willing to commit to. I mean, some pretty dark stuff happens there.
Does it start to feel like, because it's so dramatic and she doesn't commit to it, does it kind of start to reek of melodrama?
A little bit, but it's almost like it's not, to me it's almost like not dramatic enough given what happens. And I don't know that I want her to like
specifically
become melodramatic.
The sun in the bushes at the end next to the train, that specific part of the story is just so fucking breaking.
Yeah, but the tone doesn't
right.
The tone doesn't seem to fit with what is actually transpiring plot wise. So it just felt like something didn't click there, despite me really liking what I think she was trying to do, which is just kind of depict everyday people, middle class people going through ordinary problems.
Yeah, very human experience. How do you think she gets back?
I think she just tries again. Sometimes I think
you don't have like a specific idea of how she gets back to aces, though. Like, you don't see a certain project that you think she would just nail.
My only thought is that with Enough Said and Walking and Talking, which she's seen others, so this is maybe not perfect, but those casts aren't so big. Enough Said's really kind of a two-hander with Gandolfini and Dreyfus is her name.
Yeah, Julie Dreyfus. And then there's that one hippie chick.
Yeah,
role.
Exactly, the therapist. Yeah, kind of the supporting role. This was a little more sprawling character-wise. And I think maybe she just got spread a little too thin.
I think the locations, I started to get lost about halfway through before he ever goes to the hotel room for Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever that holiday is.
Yeah.
I was just like, so where's he live? And where's this town? Okay, so this town is, I think it was either in Oregon or Washington. And I was like, that's not that town. I've been to that town. There isn't a whatever store you just mentioned it in that town. Yeah. There's not all these rich people in that town. Like, it just kept breaking apart for me logistically in my head.
Yeah. So it's not something that I think needs to dramatically change, right? She didn't it was definitely not a bomb for me. But I think maybe just narratively a little bit tighter focus on a smaller number of characters, maybe something not quite so dramatic screenplay wise if she doesn't want to quite go there tonally.
Something more, not quite rom-com, but raw mellow-com.
Yeah, exactly. But I have faith.
Yeah,
I'm not worried. I just want
something more performance-driven.
Yeah. But that's The Land of Steady Habits. I still think it's actually, I was going to say it's still worth checking out. I think I would just say go watch Enough Said and Walking and Talking.
Well, I mean, it's not something I would steer people away from. It's just if you have the expectation from the director who maybe you're starting to think of might have an auteurist vision that you might want to liken to like an Alex Ross Perry, where you're like, why aren't I getting this from you? You want that back. But I still think The Land of Steady Habits for newcomers to Hall of Center is a fine place to begin so that you don't start with the best and then go down.
Fine entry point. I agree. Yeah. What about you?
All right.
Who stumbled?
Well, so when you first got here, I had The Path Back to Excellence for James Franco. And I was like, well, he's already got a lot of irons in the fire. We haven't seen how do season 3 is going to shape up. I don't want to leap to any conclusions. So I instead pivoted to someone who I think has completely fallen away the last 8 years from America's hearts and minds. And that is the filmmaker, writer, director, producer, Oliver Stone.
Interesting.
I think the last time he was warmly received was the Shia LaBeouf take of Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps.
Oh, yeah, the sequel. That's right.
Yeah, and then with Michael Douglas, obviously, reprising the titular role. And then we get Savages, which was very poorly received. I actually really like it. I think it's a very moving piece of Shakespearean drama in the modern day that does a lot of really clever things screenplay-wise. But if you're not a writing fan or you're not looking at things from that authorial perspective, there's a lot of stuff to pick apart, which I recognize. And then he did a few small projects, some documentaries. And then he did something called the Putin Interviews.
Oh, yeah.
In 2016, which really basically made every liberal audience that I am aware of hate him.
Yeah, I did not watch the Putin interview.
I did. They're extremely good. They're challenging because I have an expectation and I have a way that I view Russia, that I view Putin. But what you see is a very human man who is being shown Dr. Strangelove for the first time, side by side with Oliver Stone. And you're seeing this man laugh and enjoy himself, and it's certainly something, because I think I watched it right when I was watching Icarus before the Oscars last year.
Yeah.
I was like, I fucking hate you, and you're a human, and you do have a job to do, and all these people rely on you. Like it's very hard to hold these two opposite things in your head. And I think that his I don't know what to call it, docu-series or whatever, really does capture that in a very empathetic and human way. That I know that's not an attractive thing to say. You don't want to show humanity to people, but they are humans. They're gonna make, like, if they're making these mistakes, they have to be human, right? Or if they're this flawed, they have to be human. And I think that he has such a knack for that. And it's really disappointing that he's kind of fallen completely from the grace of America.
Yeah.
Hearts, minds, as viewers. You know, this is the man that gave us Platoon and Wall Street.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that his path back to excellence, hear me out here.
What do you got?
Sci-fi film.
Oh.
Colonizing a foreign planet.
Wow, okay.
And wrestling with all those things that he does in Savages, that he does in Wall Street, that he does in those Putin interviews on a foreign planet with characters. Like he writes this screenplay, he directs this film, kind of in the way that Ridley Scott did with Prometheus, which I know a lot of people hate, especially in the film community. I'm a huge fan. Once again, love Noomi. I really think that there's something special, very Ridley Scottish, that could be done from Oliver Stone, very Shakespearean, examining, you know, that when we think about James White's Ad Astra, when we think about Claire Denis, what's that film called with Robert Pattinson? The sci-fi film we're going to get?
High Life?
High Life. Yeah, when I think about those, I think, like, who else is someone that I really want to see go stretch themselves and think about what humanity is going to be like and what humanity is going to feel like and what the real flaws are going to be when we're navigating planets. I think Oliver Stone is a storyteller I really want to hear from that. And I think that maybe that would get back to the hearts and minds of contemporary America.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. Do you know if he's done sci-fi before? That'd be totally new ground.
I think when I was looking, it would be totally new ground. I was looking at JFK. I was looking at Any Given Sunday. I was, it's all, he's always doing really human, really down to earth stuff. And what I would personally say, really Shakespearean. Like, I can't think of a film that he's made film, not documentary, that he's made that I wouldn't call Shakespearean.
Yeah. I think JFK is the last film of his that I watched recently. I probably watched that in the last year or so, which I really liked.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did Snowden, right?
Yes.
I think you mentioned
Snowden was all, I didn't mention it, but that was also poorly received. I'm a fan of the performances and the effort. I'm not really a fan of the film, but I'm a big fan of everything he was trying to do.
Yeah.
And how those performances coalesced from Shailene Woodley and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And JGL was at the top of his game at that point in time. He just got off, what was that, the Man on Wire. adaptation.
That's right. Zemeckis one.
Yeah, he's
he wasn't around much this year either.
Well, he's running that indie production company.
Oh, is that right?
Or whatever. Yeah.
Got it.
He runs like a big indie thing where a bunch of independent workers work. Yeah.
Got it.
He'll be back.
Yeah, I like it. You should drop him an email. I think you should write the screenplay and say, direct it.
I'll just tell him my idea and then have him do it because I trust him more.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's a good pick. I like it.
He made Blake Lively basically unforgivable, but also completely innocent in Savages, which only a real good screenwriter could do.
Yeah. Savages. I'm kind of forgetting that one, to be honest. Was that with Aaron Taylor Johnson?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's kind of
one of our favorite ATJs.
That's right. Also, he was good in that, too, if I
was.
remember.
He was no Black Douglas, though.
No. That's his peak.
He's peaked. All right. So we're number 7, correct?
Number 7. Shall I go?
You go.
My number 7 is...
You're not wearing a whole lot of clothes, but it's a family place. Like working at Chili's or Applebee's, except the tips are way better.
If you know how to work it.
Notice how I open my mouth real wide when I laugh, like...
Hey! Get off the car.
It's Alexis.
What are your mainstream? Bar and grill. Please, come here. Please. Come here.
She's making sick money, though.
Andrew Bujalski's Support the Girls.
Yes.
Loved this movie. I really enjoyed his last movie as well. Results, but I think this is I think this tops Results for me.
This is one of the finest films of the year, to put it simply.
Did this make your list?
This did not make my list because I just rewatched it. And there's something about rewatchability that I kind of try to incorporate into my list, or something about the magnetic importance of it, and it just it's number 12. And like it's I was saying earlier, as Michael Phillips of the Chicago News Tribune said all those years ago on Film Spotting when they were doing their top 10s, number 7 through 30 doesn't really matter. You could take my number 30 and put it at number 7 and I'd go,
that works.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Yep. I will happily revisit Double Whammies at some point. I don't think that there was a member of this cast that I didn't like. Regina Hall, Haley Lou Richardson, Shayna McHale, I believe is her name, who's another supporting actress.
But I think the real standout is the lead and then Haley Lou Richardson.
Yeah.
Haley Lou Richardson's Macy is one of the most memorable people from 2018 for me. Like when she comes out that door and pulls the popper.
Oh yeah,
and just
great.
Startles the shit out of her. It's just a fantastic moment.
Yeah. I just think it fits this really narrow category of film between broad comedy and indie comedy. And I think it's, to me, specifically a workplace comedy about just getting through the day. And the weird things that happen and how these women look out for each other in the process. I think it's kind of as moving for me as it is funny. It was a great viewing experience. We watched that one together, The Grand Illusion here in Seattle. It makes me want to kind of go back through Bujalski's films, having like 2 of his now, just to see kind of what his body of work is like overall.
Bujalski in the summer.
Yeah, something about this film together with Results, which is about personal trainers, and his vision just kind of unique workplaces.
So are you saying we can incorporate pain and game? Is that what I heard?
That's an interesting tie-in. And then one, I think his one before that was Computer Chess, which is about like competitive chess players.
Yeah, I've been meaning to see that. I actually heard really, really good things about that. It's almost impossible to find, though, if I remember correctly.
That seems very possible. I think it was very micro budget.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of has that look to it too. But I'm still very.
Labuza had to go watch it at like a specific university, if I remember correctly.
So not widely available. But yeah, something about unique lines of work, and ones that cinema otherwise doesn't usually pay a lot of attention to.
I think also not just cinema, but America.
Yeah,
I think that like when you say that, you're not just talking about cinema, you're talking about cinema goers in America. And this is a group of people that I don't think we think about compassionately in just everyday life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is very compassionate and also very funny. So,
very funny.
I think this one is streaming on Hulu now. I think it just hit Hulu, so easy to check it out.
There's far worse things that you could be watching. Watch Support the Girls.
I agree.
Support the girls.
Do it. Your number 7 is...
I apologize for my appearance. I hoped I might be employed here by you. As something.
A monster for the children to play with, perhaps.
It is important to make new friends in court, is it not?
You're so beautiful. Stop it, you mock me. If I were a man, I would ravish you.
You have become close to Abigail.
She is a viper. You're jealous.
You must send Abigail away.
I do not want to.
Let's shoot something.
The Favorite.
Yeah, good pick.
Yeah. So I went from one starring The Killing of a Sacred Deer last year from Yorgos Lanthimos. Not because it's a bad film, but because I hated the film. Because it was so well done to make me hate it. Because I was so deeply affected in a negative way by it. And now, The Favorite, I think I gave a 4.5 to. The Heart. Bold claim, it's my favorite period piece since Lincoln. Just get that out there. Olivia Colman's performance is one of the best lead performances by an actress this year. Not the best, but one of the best. We'll get to the best later, I promise. Emma Stone. She's almost better here than she is in Maniac, and that's really saying something. And then Rachel Weisz is just as consistent as she's always been in Yorgos' films.
It's quite the ensemble.
It's just special. Like, Nicholas Hoult is fine or whatever, but like those three gals just... And what he does with that fisheye lens, we just talked about this movie, but it's just such a fucking great movie.
It makes no sense that it's not on my top 10. It might as well be there. Ask me tomorrow, and it will be.
I think it's because we watched it too late. Like, I honestly was looking at my list this morning, and I was like, oh, I don't even have The Favorite on a list. Like, after we watched it, I think we were gonna go see a movie and then didn't. And then I just never got around to putting it, like, even in Letterboxd anywhere other than logging it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, put this at 18. Oh, okay, put this at 7.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. I just suspect this one is just going to be incredibly good on a rewatch. Like, I just don't have any doubts about how this will hold up. Yeah, acting of the highest order. It's funny. All those anachronisms, the manner of speaking that somehow feel very contemporary. We talked about that already a little bit. I just think those do wonders for it.
Clearly define it to its own era.
Yeah.
And I know I haven't seen Barry Lyndon.
Oh yeah,
still, but when I think about this and when I think about Mission Impossible, that thought that is so crucial to making this top 10 portion of a list is: in 30 years, am I going to want to watch it, and is it still going to look good the way that Cold War is going to look good? Okay, well, it's not going to look as good as Cold War. It's not going to. It's just not going to. Mission Impossible isn't going to look that good.
Yeah.
But it's still going to look good, and it's still going to feel good, and that fisheye lens is still going to be great, and Emma Stone smacking herself in the face is still going to be a defining moment, the way that we talk about defining moments in Rosemary's Baby or The Shining. It's just a special film, and I am so happy that he made something that could please me and not make me hate everything.
Yeah. I agree. I don't know who did the costumes off the top of my head, but as a costume drama, I think these
that
are...
we'll probably find out in February when they win that award.
Probably. Seems like a safe bet. For a costume drama, I mean, superb costumes. I mean, that's part of the appeal.
Colette can shove it.
Ooh. Burn.
That stupid beard that they put on Dominic West. Oh, man.
It's a great movie.
So we are about to delve into The Stars Who Were Born.
That is correct.
The opposite of the Squanderies, if you will.
That is correct. Let me pull up my Stars Were Born. Would you like to do actors or actresses first? I have one of each. Or do you have just one?
Written my actor first, my actress is second, but I have no care in the world.
Yeah. Shall I go, or would you like to go?
You go.
I will go. I will start with an actor first, and we are returning to White Boy Rick. Once again.
Love
this
it.
young actor's name is Richie Merritt.
What a great choice. What a good job. I applaud you. Fantastic choice.
I'm going to return to the Wall Street Journal, just briefly.
Okay.
While this critic had thoughts on Richie Merritt. Making his film debut, Richie Merritt plays Rick as a sullen, evidently stupid, and certainly uncharismatic schemer in possession of a modicum of animal cunning and perhaps a hint of personal insight. But there's no life in his eyes and little life in his acting. Boom!
Has this guy ever watched movies?
I don't know. I don't like him.
How does he get paid for this?
I just thought Richie Merritt was stunning.
Like, I could see it if, like, this was the 12th movie he saw in, like, a sitting at a festival. Maybe.
He was just
Give him
winded.
the benefit of the doubt. You know, like, maybe this was the last day of Cannes. He'd already watched 40 movies in 4 days, or, you know.
It's possible.
There's certain... I know David Ehrlich's been very open about, like, revisiting films and completely changing his mind and then explaining how that festival... just affects you when you're on 4 hours of sleep and you're on a different time clock and
it's like 8 a.m.
You're watching all these movies back to back to back to back, and there's no AC in the theater, and you know, like we've had negative experiences just due to the theater itself.
Yeah, or even if just the person on either side of you hates it, you're like, was that not good? That can psych you out.
God, dude, that happened watching Beale Street. There was this girl next to me who was just going every 3 minutes. I was like, oh my god, why did you sit next to me?
So yeah, I do not share this critic's opinion. I thought Richie Merritt was really something. I think it's a very introverted performance, but I feel like there's just so much going on below the surface. His desire to help his dad. I read that he was very difficult to work with. He was a first-time actor. Jan Damage, the director, just somehow stumbled upon him. He didn't even want to be there half the time. I just never, ever would have guessed that. Which I think is maybe also sort of a directing feat. To work with somebody who's new, who's maybe not liking it very much. So I don't know that he'll be back or not.
He has nothing else.
Yeah.
He has acted in one film and has nothing rumored.
Yeah. I think it's very fascinating.
Let me get you in touch with Sean Baker. See if we can't just right the ship like that.
That could be a great performance. Richie Merritt in a Sean Baker movie, that's a great
Sean
call.
Baker is the up-and-coming actor whisperer.
Yes, I agree. That's a great
and if
call.
we can't get them in touch, let's get the Leave No Trace gal.
Oh, yeah. Thomas and Mackenzie, right?
Yeah. I was very close to picking Thomas and Mackenzie.
I was very close as well. Very hard not to put her on there. But yeah, Richie Merritt. He may not be back, but I'll remember him.
I will too. That's a great choice. Fantastic.
What do you got?
I chose an actor who you're familiar with, but maybe not familiar with by name. Billy Magnuson.
Billy Magnuson. No, I don't think I...
All right. Don't look it up. Let me tell you. Let me see if you can narrow it down. He was in Maniac.
Okay.
He was in Game Night.
Okay.
You got him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Blonde guy, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, he was great.
He's the next Brad Pitt. I fucking tell you what.
That guy's funny.
He was also in The Oath this year, where he played I don't want to spoil it. He played a person who you think is a federal agent. And for all intents and purposes of the film, is a federal agent who is completely evil. And he plays it so goddamn well and is so out of his mind. The way that he is in Maniac, in his multivariant role. The way that he is in Game Night, when he's just the stupid guy that brought the gal that does that Amazon show. Shoot. Shannon. Is it Shannon?
Catastrophe?
Yeah, the gal that runs that show.
Yeah.
He's actually going to be in a show that she's developing for Amazon right now.
Oh, nice.
Next year. And he was previously a character in the Ray Romano, Chris O'Dowd series from Starz. It's based on Get Shorty. It's called Get Shorty. He He was fantastic in that. And then he's in I think it's an NBC television show right now called Tell Me a Story. He's so good. And like I just said, he is the next Brad Pitt. Like, they need to remake Troy, and he needs to be Achilles, and we need to get the Black Douglas involved, because I see it all in my head.
That's interesting. Yeah, you see, you're thinking these big dramatic roles. I just thought he was so funny. Like, to me, there's just comic genius.
To me, that's that range, though, right? Like, when I think about some of Brad Pitt's most memorable roles for me, they're kind of the funny roles more than the dramatic roles, or they're the really visceral roles, not really the Moneyball role that he's gotten most of the
Oscar bait and kind of stuff. Yeah, great choice.
Yeah, big fan of Billy.
Lots more to come from him.
Lots more, luckily for me.
Yeah.
All right, who's your actress?
My actress is. Let me make sure I have her last name correct.
Good luck.
My actress is Kaylee Carter from Private Life.
Yeah.
I loved Private Life. We will talk about that later.
That's the homegirl that's trying to get preggers, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
She is desperate to help Catherine Hahn and Paul Giamatti, another young actress whose comic timing I think is just on point. Perfect.
There's something, oozing is a weird word, but like naturally oozing and warm about her, where it's like, it's kind of the good God, Jennifer Lawrence effect. Where it's like you can throw whatever you want at her, and she has this weird, very cinematic movie way of acting, where however she reacts is just so naturalistic and so perfect for the moment that it's just, what a great choice.
Yeah, I really liked her. It's this combination of comedy and pathos that to me reminded me a little bit, if I had to pick a classic actress, golden era of Hollywood actors, it'd be Katharine Hepburn. I can see Kaylee Carter opposite some other fine young man in something like Bringing Up Baby, a romantic comedy of that sort.
I was thinking of that Rome film with Gregory Peck, I think. Or is that Audrey Hepburn?
Is that Sabrina? Or is that Roman Holiday?
Roman Holiday.
Yes. That's one I have not seen.
Ooh, that's a great movie.
Is that Audrey Hepburn?
I don't remember which Hepburn. It's one of the Hepburns.
But I think you're right. Is it Gregory Peck or Cary Grant?
Oh, God. I think it's Gregory Peck.
Sounds right.
I don't know. They all played the same age for 40 years.
Yeah, exactly. It does not make
Cary
it
Grant
easy.
was in his 40s from 20 to 80. So was Gregory Peck. So I don't know.
He aged well. In that he did not age.
Exactly. They've got the Brad Pitt effect.
Yes. So yeah, Kaylee Carter. We'll talk about Private Life later, so I won't say too much more. I'll just say that she's in Ari Aster's new film, 2019. So
really?
Very excited about that.
Awesome. The summer camp film, if I remember.
Midsummer.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, here comes my actress, Julia Garner. Not to be confused with Jennifer Garner. Julia Garner is, I believe she's either Southern or Midwest descent. She's definitely got that great patter to her voice that is incredibly authentic and just generally different from what you get from most actresses. She is in Ozark. She is kind of the backbone of Ozark, if you ask me. She's in a film called I'm looking at next year's stuff. She was also in Maniac, limited series. It'll come back. She was in a small television show, The Americans. She was in a limited series this year called Waco. And then she's also in something, I'm not too sure what it is. It's called Dirty John.
Don't know.
It's like a Lifetime TV show where they're trying to get in a dark drama. Not too sure. But she's already got projects coming out next year or that are in development. Particularly season 3 of Ozark. A film called You Can't Win. A film called Modern Love. And she's rumored to be the actress that an entire film is being written around to bring back Harvey Weinstein. She's supposed to be the star of the assistant project of what it was like to be Harvey Weinstein's assistant.
Oh, wow.
And what a great actress, because she's got such a strong backbone, but she can be so raw and innocent. Like, she's just got such a range. Like, she's really special. and I look forward to watching her until I'm dead.
Yeah. One that I have definitely not seen enough of. I am most familiar with her from Maniac, but I don't know that I've seen any of her other
Yeah, she played the sister, Emma Stone's sister.
Yeah. In Ozark, is she a daughter to Jason Bateman?
No, she is a daughter of a renowned crime family, or of ill repute crime family in the Ozarks. Once they move from Chicago to the Ozarks, and then she begins to kind of develop herself and assimilate a character that is both heartbreaking and incredibly strong. It's one of the, I think, better performances since Aaron Paul's supporting role in Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah,
I would liken her to somewhere in that vein.
Yeah,
not at that level yet, but she's navigating in those waters.
Yeah, Ozark, definitely one I need to catch up with, and that is just more reason to.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
All right, well, we are on to number 6, the final episode or final title in this here episode. What do you got?
When you dance the dance of another, you make yourself in the image of its creator.
I feel like I'm not even here yet.
The dumpling's incredible. 1, 2, 3. The way she transmits her work.
You have to decide, what is it you want to be for this company?
There's more in that building than what you can see, Doctor.
You are living with dangerous people.
Suspiria, directed by Luca Guadagnino, starring Tilda Swinton, and who's our lead actress?
Dakota Johnson.
Dakota Johnson is magnetic. I really like her performance here. Guadagnino's direction.
Tom York's score.
Great score. We just might talk about that later, I have a feeling.
I think so. At least when it comes to me. I don't know about you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man, something about the direction in this movie, just how ordinarily he presents some of this really repulsive stuff that is just so bone-chilling. Whether you're watching a girl get twisted like a Rubik's Cube or a group of women dancing, I think it's just stunning from top to bottom. The more I have thought about it, the more problematic I do kind of find it, but I somehow weirdly don't love it any less. It's just one of those movies where, despite problematic in the sense that I think it tries to attach some of that political narrative unnecessarily.
Yeah,
but
that's just one of those things where, sometimes great movies have shitty parts.
I agree. It's weird. It's like I can just... it's one movie where I have no trouble holding that in one part of my head and saying that is not necessary and just loving it regardless. Yeah. It's just like what I like completely overwhelms what I don't like.
To me,
what doesn't
it's
work.
like... I view it as some sort of a negotiation where it's like, Luca, make a movie that I actually really like. I understand Call Me By Your Name is beautiful. I appreciate that. I didn't really, really love it, though. Like, I just appreciated it. And he's like, okay, but I gotta do something for me. And that's that political agenda thing. And then he makes this film that's, like, totally for me otherwise. Like, otherwise, it's almost like a Lars von Trier, Gaspar Noé dance film.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just so good. And you didn't bring her up yet, but Mia Goth.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my. She is the reason why the film works.
I agree.
Like, without her to ground that thing constantly and make it very clear that Dakota Johnson isn't the bottom level human here.
Yeah.
She's so essential and so, so good.
Yeah, and I think it's really seamless how it kind of like hands the narrative over to her after a certain point in a totally natural way, which I thought was great.
The transformation of the how we start with that room with the body getting twisted and then how it ends, all the bodies getting twisted and blown up. And,
yeah.
That is one of... That film has a few of my favorite cinematic moments and one of the top 10 cinematic moments of the year for me.
Yeah. when I was debating if I had time to rewatch anything for list making, I was just sorting by length, and that was the longest movie that I watched this year. And I'm like, how is it possible that was the single longest movie I watched, and I still, just didn't want it to end? I could have sat there for another half hour.
Yeah, I was pissed off when it ended.
Yeah.
To be frank, I was like, why aren't there more heads that are pumpkining?
Yeah. So it just made me think there's something just stunning about how an hour and a half movie can sometimes just feel like a week, and that one just flies by.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Not long enough.
Number
Fantastic
6 for me.
Film.
How about you?
That's amazing. It's a film that you probably won't find on anyone else's list this year. It's from a director who will come back up.
Your life slips away from you, Changing your phone number and your email becomes normal. Taking out a restraining order, normal. Relocating to another city, normal.
But you still see your stalker everywhere?
Rationally, I know this is my imagination, but I'm alone in a strange city, and I never feel safe.
There's some more forms you need to fill out. It's just routine.
Unsane. Starring Claire Foy. She's back, just like I told you, and she'll be back again.
I believe it.
Supporting role, Jay Farrow. Really, really strong. Joshua Leonard plays the lunatic, for lack of a better word, in the film, really well. And then Juno Temple is kind of she plays this fulcrum role that she just plays it perfectly. She comes in right when this genre needs this type of a character to come in, and instead of just phoning it in, she is completely committed, and very reminiscent of the way that she played her role in Black Mass, where she gave that movie way more than it deserved. She's a great young actress. I can't put her in the Stars Were Born category because she's already been born.
Yeah.
Well defined. She's had shows and stuff.
Still a star.
Still a star. Something of note, shot on iPhone. A few different lenses. Steven carried around a backpack so he could navigate his lenses constantly. But maybe something you don't know or the listener doesn't know. He shot the film personally as the cinematographer. And he edited the film. And
full control.
God damn it, do I love Steven Soderbergh. I watched this movie more times than I watched any other film in theaters this year. I think I watched Avengers 3 times in theaters. And I think I watched Unsane 4 times in theaters.
That's a lot.
Yeah, thanks, MoviePass.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Oh, yeah.
Now that you're bankrupt.
Yeah.
Off those Steven Soderbergh tickets.
Yeah. Is that one you enjoy, first and foremost as a genre piece, or is it, because of certain thematic material there?
It changes every time, and it evolves every single time.
That's
every time I revisit it, I get drawn in, and I become part of this victim mentality that we start with Claire Foy. Where I'm looking over her shoulder for her, and I end up kind of becoming her. I'm not a voyeur of the film at the beginning. I am her, and then it has this transition where I begin to question her. So I all of a sudden become the assaulter of her, and questioning her pain and her experience. And then you're without a shadow of a doubt, and you can't believe that you did this, even though you've already seen the film a few times and you know it's coming. When that room scene comes. It comes, and when she finds Jay Farrow, not to, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's just, yeah. As far as a genre film goes, this is my favorite of the year, and I'm a sucker for this genre. I'm a sucker for the psycho thriller, psychosexual, this type of a genre piece, and especially when you get a actress who might be like a Hepburn. Whether it's Audrey or Catherine, I don't know. But the things that she can do with her eyes, the way that the makeup and can be adjusted so that you know how much she slept, and you begin to see just from the rings around her eyes and the pallor change how she's descending into this madness, and that you feel like it could be you. There's just something so special about Soderbergh's work. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I liked Unsane quite a bit. I loved Claire Foy in it. I personally am just not a big fan of the iPhone cinematography. Just aesthetically, it just doesn't do much for me on the eye.
Is it because you're comparing to other cinematography? Because I could see that.
I don't know. Even in a vacuum, I just don't know that I would ever look at a lot of those frames and say, wow, that looks good.
Man, some of those fisheyes. It's not necessarily that it looks good. It's how it looks. It's the way that he shot Kafka. So what I hear you saying is it doesn't look good. And I would agree, it doesn't really look good.
Yeah.
And that's the point. Does Claire Foy ever look good in this?
I don't know that not really. I mean, I guess I don't know that it was interesting enough for me to justify it not looking good. Gotcha. Usually that's pretty hard for a movie to say, like, you know, the point of the movie is to not feel good. Like, well, then you have to have like a very high justification for why that is.
I think that he does, because it's called Unsane, and she's slowly descending into madness.
Yeah.
I would turn you towards Andy Serkis's Breathe, 2017, Andrew Garfield, Claire Foy. He makes Claire look beautiful for as much of it as he can. She's just always dressed sumptuously, really well manicured and kept up, and she just is the spitting image of just a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
And I think that in Soderbergh's Unsane, she is barely holding it together at the beginning. And then she keeps losing more. And I think that the way that he shoots that really accentuates her losing everything. And I definitely don't agree that it's beautiful, but I think that its purposeful lack of beauty, I think, is very attractive to me.
Yeah.
That's how I would put it.
Yeah.
It's something similar to the end of Mother in the swirling and the chaos. And
but that to me that is beautiful.
Yeah,
I don't know that to me that's hard to compare.
Well, no, it's just I would classify it in the same genre of the dirtiness that I'm appreciating, like that Children of Men ending where it gets all dirty, even though it's beautiful, and you know they're shooting it with whatever a red dragon 5Ks or whatever, like it's technically gorgeous at that level, but they're doing something grisly and murderous. And I think that he not only is using a camera that's something grisly and murderous, it's just grisly and murderous in all these ways.
I think I have seen this pop up on a few people's lists. I think Lamuza was a big fan,
really?
Right? I don't know. I don't think they've released their list yet, but I think I saw he gave it a 4. I wouldn't be surprised if that popped up on his list.
I think 4 is probably the highest I've seen of him rate a 2018 title.
Yeah.
He likes to rate those 1930s titles with 5s.
Yes, he does.
You just watched one yourself that he watched this year, The Passion of Joan of Arc.
Oh, yeah. Good movie.
Yeah. Been meaning to get to that.
Unsane. Good pick. Number
Thank
6.
You. That's certainly a pick that I love. So, what is your top 3 ensemble?
Ready? We counting down from number 3?
Yeah, let's count down just back and forth.
I think I am going to switch mine on the air, actually, because there have been 2 that I wrote down. I was going to do Support the Girls, but there's one film I do just want to give love to this film, and that was The Death of Stalin.
Great choice. Fantastic ensemble.
Simon Russell Beale, Steve Buscemi, Jeffrey Tambor. Hilarious movie, incredibly bleak. Who was the gal who was also in Mandy, who shows up here in a supporting
Andrea
role? Andrea Riseborough, she's here as well. I think these are just top-notch
Olga
comic performances.
Kurylenko?
Yeah. And I think they all just work off each other perfectly. I think their comic timing together is just top-notch, and it's one that I think probably suffers list-wise from just having come out earlier in the year.
It definitely
this
does.
Came out in the last
February?
couple months. I think this could be even higher for me. I think these guys all really worked terrifically well together. I was a big fan.
Me too. All right, well, my choice for number 3 will be back again. But it's a small film called If Beale Street Could Talk.
Ooh, yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not familiar with almost anyone besides Brian Tyree Henry, who plays a small supporting role in this film. But Kiki Lane is the star. Stephen James is Fawny. Regina King. And then, for me personally, the 2 dads, Coleman Domingo and Michael Beach, were amazing. Dave Franco has a small role that was a really touching moment. I will dig back into If Beale Street Could Talk much later. I think probably a few times.
It's gonna come back.
This is just a really special ensemble, and it kicked Mission Impossible out.
Ooh,
that's how good it is.
Sorry, Tom. That's all right.
What's your number 2?
He got some love. My number 2 is one I think we will split on, but that is Widows. I really liked all of these performers.
I liked all the female performances.
Yeah, Viola Davis, Michelle Rodriguez, Elizabeth Debicki, who was maybe just across the board really solid this year. Yeah. A movie that I don't think is going to come up on any other of my lists was The Tale, which I thought she was great in.
Incredible, her and Laura.
Cynthia Erivo, Colin Farrell, Brian Tyree Henry, Daniel Kaluuya, so good here. So good. I think everyone.
I think you forgot Jackie Weaver.
Jackie Weaver. I could go on. I mean, I haven't even mentioned Liam Neeson.
Well, he wasn't good for me.
He didn't do. He did. I'm fine leaving
Coon?
him off. If I have to not
Carrie
mention
Coon
somebody,
was really good.
Yeah. John Bernthal.
Did you mention what's his name? The patriarch.
Oh, Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. I think they all bring their A game. It's a huge part of why I think love that film more than a lot of people do. I will happily watch them play these parts again.
All right. Well, my number 2 is where we kind of devolve into the. Well, what are these lists? Are they the top films? Are they including television shows? Is a limited series a film or a television show? What does it mean if it gets a sequel? Which is something that'll come up when I get to my number 1, which I just found out about earlier this week. When I get to my number 1 on my top 10 of the year, that is. But my number 2 ensemble is Maniac.
Yeah.
Small actress, Emma Stone, really small actor, Jonah Hill, never been in anything before, Justin Theroux, Billy Magnuson, Sonoya Mizuno, Julie Garner,
yep.
Sally Fields. I mean, it's huge. I'm not going to name all of them, but it's just from an ensemble piece, like if you just want to talk about like who has the most actors that are doing good work, this has to be in the top 10 of every single ensemble list, just because of the sheer amount of actors that do good work because of the format of the 8 episodes.
Yeah. All top notch.
Number
1. Kind of surprised myself with this one, but I am going with Shoplifters.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely solid all around. I can't find a weak part on the edges when I think about it right now.
Yeah. It's one where, I can't pick one of those. I can't pick one member of that family to spotlight as, a best actor of the year.
I can.
But
youngest one.
I think that was the best.
Yeah. It's the most impressive.
Yeah.
Off the cuff, like that little girl did all that.
Yeah. It's to me, it's just, it has more to do with, what comes to life when they come together. And how the sum of the parts is greater than the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. You could lose one of them, and this is no longer just the portrait of a family. I think this becomes something new when they come together, and the way that they interact with each other just feels so real and love, full of love. Yeah,
it's deeply human.
Yeah, my number 1. What about you?
My number 1 is a film that has yet to come up and also hedges an argument. How do you classify when a film is released? I've seen Under the Silver Lake. I saw it in 2017. No, 2018. Yeah, I'm trying to work out where we're at now. Yeah, I saw it in 2018. You're going to see it in 2019. It originally premiered in 2017. When does that film come out?
I guess it probably is, I don't know.
Right.
Whenever you want to talk about it.
Yeah, no, it's weird. It's that thing. And I think that New York and LA received my choice, Hostiles, in 2017 and had a 2-week run at the end of December. And my city didn't get it, I think, until February.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a 2018 film. I'd already made my lists over a month. I couldn't change it after I watched the film. And I think that I mean, we'll get back to it later, but I guess just as a whole, what the mission statement of the book is and what the mission statement of the film accomplishes are the exact same thing, and the actors completely breathe the life into the book and into the film in a way that we are, I think, very unaccustomed to when it comes to adaptations. I would liken it to If Beale Street Could Talk, when I say how expertly it brings a voice into the written words of the page, and the deeper meanings and the deeper longings and those certain human echoes that are in the crevasses that only actors can bring out.
Yeah. In the long run, the years don't really matter anyways. Your favorite movies are just the ones that you love no matter when they came out. So yeah, it's just like problematic for list making. But, you know, I think people should just talk about them whenever they feel most strongly about it.
Yeah, but our friend of the show, filmmaker Jared Bratt, he got to see Climax at TIFF. So Climax is one of his favorite films of 2018.
Yeah.
But you and I won't be able to see it till March.
Yeah. Gotta wait.
So there is an interesting debate that I would like some consensus on.
I know. And, there's no universal standard.
There sure
really should agree on.
All right. Well, that's part one of our top 10 of 2018 and smoldering of other lists. Let's do a cheers and then break down and go do a refill and get to the back half, yeah?
More to come.
Run! Go! Get to the chopper!
We have to go.
I'm coming with you.
That was brilliant.
So many movies!
You're the best and we love you!